I'm now going to call the Wednesday, March 1st, 2023 meeting of the Norfolk County Commissioners to order. On Thursday, March 12th, 2020, Governor Charles Baker issued an order suspending certain provisions of the Mass Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A, Section 20. That order was effective immediately until it is rescinded or the state of emergency is terminated. On July 17th, 2022, by action of the legislature, that order was continued until March 31st, 2022. 2023, I'm sorry, I keep saying 2022, wishful thinking. So we're live and on Zoom, and welcome to everyone. I'm going to ask if you rise and join me in saluting the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Stady,
I am present, sir.
Commissioner Shea is present, and we are awaiting Commissioner Collins, who will be calling in today. So I'd like to continue on with the item number 4, which is minutes of last week's meeting of February 22nd. We are going to go into executive session briefly.
We are, okay.
But I'd like to hopefully wait for Commissioner Collins.
Yes, sir.
But you and I can start.
Sure. I'll move approval of the meeting minutes, Mr. Chairman, as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Approve the open minutes meetings of February 22nd, 2023 for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, executive session minutes of February 22nd.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval of the minutes of executive session of 2/22/23, subject to the release when the matter has been resolved.
Motion made and seconded on the approval of the executive session minutes of February 22nd, 2023 for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're going to skip number 6 for now. We will get right to it, though. We have budget presentation today. Number 7, public comment. Director Cronin, do you have any public comment today?
I do not, sir.
Anyone out in Zoom land that has public comment, we do reserve a portion of every meeting for public comment. Okay, moving right along. Old business, I have none. Number 9, personnel matters for consideration. We have 1 at the registry and 2 at the agricultural school and 3 at the Walson Recreational Center. I think they are in order.
Want to take those up?
Sure.
I'm not sure. Okay. Mr. Chairman, first item, at the Registry of Deeds, I move approval of the notice of contingency employment for Richard Serrani of Falmouth, Mass. as a temporary clerk with rate stated effective date would be 4/4/23. So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Agricultural High School.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move approval of notice of contingency employment for Casper Joseph of Walpole, Mass. Substitute instructor for the rate stated effective 3/2/23.
I believe it's Joseph Gasper, but I read it the same way you did. I'm sorry.
Oh, is it?
Joseph
Okay.
Gasper.
I had Casper Joseph. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Joseph Gasper.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It is a vote. Next one.
It's notice of resignation, Peter Caruso, Brockton, Mass. as the phys ed instructor, 4/10 and effective 2/24/23. So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. It is a vote. Walson
We
Recreation.
have somebody
Please.
covering our class. We'll find them tonight. Walton Recreational. I notice the termination of Sophie Shaw of Quincy, Mass. as Pro Shop JG effective 3/1/23 today. So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Next.
Notice and termination of Violet Shaw. Pro Shop JG effective 3/1/23. So moved. Interesting.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Next.
And the last one, notice termination of Marie Divine of Walpole, Mass. Pro Shop for the rate stated effective 3/1/23. So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. It is a vote.
That concludes that item.
This next one, vacation leave rule memo of 3/1/2003 for discussion. We're not going to move on that today, are we?
That's up to the commissioners. It was placed in your packet by the Human Resources Director. There are 2 employees with prior Commonwealth experience that would potentially allow them to access vacation rule number one. Packet explains the background.
I don't mind discussing it, but I'd rather have full board. I don't think I'm ready to vote on that today. I do intend to, I won't hold it up.
I didn't intend to vote on it,
Yeah,
not
right.
today.
So can we,
I want to kind of study.
without, if there's no objection, can we place that
Can we talk about it
on
today?
next week? Well, we can, but
I mean, it's just something to talk about. Then,
I'm expecting Peter, so.
okay. How about if we, Mr. Chairman, if I may, can we go to payroll and expense warrants?
Yes.
The table that maybe.
Number
for later?
10.
Okay, let me get that out. If that's all right. So I'll move, we only have two items. The warrant list is pretty short. I move approval of 23-3 payroll of the county for the amount of $141,611.38. So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. And the only other item is item 3-01-23, expense of the county in the amount of $487,311.46. So
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
that takes care of that.
That includes the payroll and expense warrants.
Right.
All right, we'll go to 11.
Oh, okay.
My intention is, I spoke to Commissioner Collins. He said he would be on by a phone, so I'm holding one or two items
Okay,
before we get into the budget presentation. So let's do these regular items.
sure.
Number 11, reporting the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Director Cronin.
Commissioners, I'm going to bundle 11 and 12 through you, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, relative to the warrants and approval, because this week there are no ARPA awards before you. Just a brief update, we awarded 9 contracts last week. The current state is that there is one particular grant in the queue from the town of Holbrook. It's a considerable sized grant. It is at level 2 with Powers and Sullivan. This is the grant that I think I've mentioned to you folks, complements the that's right, the Randolph grant. So it's being reviewed right now, and I expect by next week we'll be seeing that particular award before you. There's one for the town of Needham that was put in the queue last September. The town manager informed us that as a result of some scheduling and staffing changes, she deferred that grant at the time. Assistant Director Buckley has reached out to the town of Brookline to determine when they might be ready to go. We were expecting a green light from them very shortly. On the sidebar, speaking of Brookline, I spoke with the Finance Committee Chairwoman, Dr. Childs, this past week, and she wanted to know if the town of Brookline had applied for or received any ARPA grants to date. I informed her the status quo is where we sit. There have been none. We've had some communication with the new town manager, and she informed me she was going to contact the town administrator personally and encourage him to engage this process. As the commissioners know, Brookline is a substantial recipient of ARPA funds, so we're hoping to hear from them soon. So on the ARPA piece, generally speaking,
So Brookline came in to see us, and they
Right.
brought in Representative Patolo and two of the select board
A couple of
members.
members of the board,
And
right?
they were all fired up, and then, I mean, what's happened? I don't understand this.
the
Everything
biggest thing
okay?
they had a turnover in the town administrator,
Okay,
and they then went out to a
that's a
search.
couple of months ago.
Yeah, they just hired the replacement, I think around the turn of the year. But if you think back, and I, if I'm not mistaken, I think during that visit, the select board informed us that Brookline had engaged in a public survey
They
process.
did.
And
Okay.
they gave us some feedback that it was meaningful. It exceeded, the request exceeded what they expect to get. And they were going through the various nonprofit and other organizational requests, and mapping that to the portal was going to be a challenge. And that's one of the things I think we know as we ponder where Brookline's going to be. There's a lot of work for them to do
Okay.
if in fact they are going to be looking at multiple grants. Commissioner.
That's easy.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Commissioner, Finance Committee Chairman Childs, I think understands the same concern that the time is not on their side if they indeed plan on having multiple grants come our way. So that's a Brookline update, but relative to the rest of ARPA, we stand in pretty good shape. I don't really have any other current updates relative to this process. One other item I wanted to follow up last week.
Do you think,
Commissioners-
if I could, do you think maybe one of us or us should go visit Brookline? I mean, I know we've had people reach out to them. I know we have. And I commend Chairman Childs, but I'm more at the point where,
Sure, I'll be happy to work with you on that.
Want to think about that? Okay,
Sure.
all right. Thank you.
I'll make it, I'll try to
That's a
schedule it
big
right away.
amount.
All right.
It's a huge nut, you know? I just feel it's slipping through the cracks. I'm getting concerned.
Well, we have a good working relationship with Brookline.
Yeah.
I'll call the Chairman Hamilton.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know what happened too. I can just cite what happened with Canton. Look at Canton. They had a new administrator and he's a great guy. But he was making some mistakes. He was just a little bit, he hadn't got all the procedure down. And then John and I went out to visit them in person
Okay,
and it, it worked out well. So,
I'll have a report next week. I'll call Chairman Heather Hamilton this week.
Okay,
She'll-
great.
we have, we have a working relationship
all right.
and ask her. We're anxious to give you some money.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
All right. Great.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you.
Okay,
That could be
if this is, if this is
Peter.
Commissioner,
Commissioner.
all right, we need to go into,
Hi, Peter.
this is Commissioner Collins, who is present. We have a quorum. Is he gonna, we're gonna do the executive session? We're gonna do number 17.
I think that was the intention.
Okay. Welcome, Commissioner. We got through a lot of the regular session stuff, minutes, et cetera. We certainly didn't do any budget presentation yet. We did the personnel matters and we did opera for today.
Okay, I'm just gonna give you, if you haven't done it already, I'll give you, my vote for the warrants, because I saw the warrants and they're good. I don't know if you voted on them yet.
We just did, but yes, I'll record you on the
Okay,
warrants. Okay, Commissioner Collins, yes.
Do we have Commissioner Collins' permission to use a stamp?
Okay.
To endorse any?
Absolutely, yes, please use my stamp.
Okay. So we're down to a brief executive session on labor matters, budgets of 6 departments, and 1 or 2 others toward the end of the agenda. So I don't, how you want to approach it?
Can we jump to that, chapter 35 vote? Because my reception is really spotty and I know it's an important vote.
Okay,
17.
it's item number 17. If we have no objection, we'll go to item number 17. This is a signing of a formal letter from the county commissioners to the register of deeds relative to state procurement regulations. I'm addressing a letter written by us, has not been sent yet today. It's dated March 1st. It's to register Bill O'Donnell. It's come to our attention that your office incurred expenses associated with lobbying services that were not funded in your fiscal year 23 budget. These expenses were incurred in August and September of 2022 in the amount of $2,656.40. Each month for a total amount of $5,312.80. As you know, incurring expenses in excess of your approved budget violates Mass General Law, Section 35, subsection 28B, G. I'll read the pertinent parts of that general law. The approved budget shall govern the expenditures of the county during the fiscal year. No expenses may be incurred in excess of these shown on the approved budget. Moreover, as you know, this is not the first time your office has incurred an expense in excess of the approved budget. Indeed, a review of the advisory board September 2021 meeting minutes indicates that you incurred $27,000 in legal fees without prior authorization. Excuse me. Please consider this letter. Notice that these violations of the county budgeting process must cease immediately. Kindly have your office take immediate steps to comply with all applicable procurement rules in the future. Moreover, please note that our staff is ready, willing, and able to assist you with any training your staff may need to comply with all applicable procurement laws. Finally, please be advised that we're CCing the chairs of the Finance Committee and Advisory Board respectively, so they are aware of our concerns. This is dated today and signed by the 3 commissioners. This letter, I think, is self-explanatory. I'm going to open it up for any questions. I'm going to open it up for Director Cronin if he has any questions. And we did consult our legal department, work with our legal counsel on this letter.
That is correct.
Okay,
I think it's self-explanatory. I'll make the motion we send the letter.
okay, well, maybe I'm not quite ready for the motion, but I might be.
So can I ask?
Sure, you can ask.
So I just want to make sure, I'm just covering ourselves as far as due process and legal matters. There's no question that the Register of Deeds was informed of. Remember the phone call?
So background.
Oh, okay. There's no question that he was given ample notice of this possibly happening, right? The budget like wasn't proper and he was
I'm under
overspending.
the opinion there was a lot of back and forth and discussion on this one.
We have that documented, right?
Oh, it's well documented.
Okay. And legal counsel has also reviewed this and is appropriate, this is appropriate for us as commissioners.
Yes,
Okay.
Scott's on the call.
My question I had to you, and I want to I'm troubled by it. This is a financial matter, correct? This is a misspending of money
So
that
it
isn't
wasn't,
appropriate.
wasn't in the proper.
Right.
Wasn't,
How come, why is the treasurer not involved in this too? Shouldn't the treasurer of Norfolk County be also joining us in this to say that there's like, checking the books, there's something inappropriate here? It's,
So as it is a contract issue and an expenditure against a procurement, the procurement falls under the control of the commissioner's office. It's not a treasurer's office domain.
okay.
any other questions?
No, that's pretty much explains itself.
I need a motion. We have a motion from Commissioner Collins to send this letter, Commissioner?
Oh, yeah, one more thing. if I
Go
could.
ahead.
So what, Mr. Chairman, if I may, so what's the net result of us sending a letter? I mean, is there a penalty imposed on the registrar? Is there a fine? Is there are we sanctioning? I mean, what happens here? What's next?
Anytime there's a breakdown in internal controls relative to public finance,
Mhm.
the most important thing the organization can do is confront the issue. You
Okay,
can't hide it. You have to explore the root cause, which has been done. And you have to notify the parties involved. And then furthermore, if there's any training that's required for people to understand how to use procurement systems, procurement law, contracts, we provide that as well. So it's all about recognizing weakness or a failure of your internal controls, confronting it and documenting it. So that's all this does.
well, if I could just add, on a personal note, it's troubling as a commissioner to have to do this. I think it's something that you don't want to do, you don't enjoy doing it, especially when
I
it
agree.
involves another elected official, But if it's the right thing to do and it's the proper thing to do, then we have to do it. So I'll second the motion made by my colleague, Mr. Collins.
Okay.
Did you want me to-
On the motion to send the aforementioned letter to Register Bill O'Donnell regarding procurement regulations. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. We will send the letter. Thank you.
that's coming over to you. This one.
If I could jump in too, so I know one other big thing that we're looking at today, I'm so afraid I'm gonna lose the signal.
That's fine.
It took me so long to get in, so, with regard to the county commissioner's budget, I did want to explore, some potential increases for two individuals. I was looking at the county director, I was looking at the assistant county director. The county director is doing a terrific job, and salaries are kind of bumping up into his salary, so we're trying to make it fair for everyone. That's part one. Part two, the assistant director was looking at becoming the manager of a new department, so that's why I was looking at maybe an increase for that. So we'll explore that when we
Right.
eventually vote on the budget, but I do want to bring it up.
Well, today is our hearing. It is my intention, and I think you agreed, we're going to take them under advisement today, and then we'll have further discussion. We also have a public hearing on March 18th. 15th. And then, but we're keeping all the doors open until we make a final vote on the
That's
budget.
fair, yeah.
We're
Are
struggling.
there any other items that I can touch on before, in case I lose the signal?
Well, I looked at them all this week. There isn't anything that jumps out, but again, you'll have another bite at the apple, Commission.
Right.
Now, briefly, Commissioner Collins will be going into executive session with council to talk about a labor issue. If you'd like to stick around for it, it will follow this.
If I still have a signal, I'll be part of it. If I don't have a signal, I'll work with you gentlemen, next week. And I
Okay.
apologize for this body connection.
Actually, it's pretty good right now, so
Yeah.
we'll keep our fingers crossed. But if there's no objections, I'm going to go back to number 3, which is executive session, which I believe is going to be brief. However, we do need to do it. So I'm going to ask Commissioner Stady to make the motion. And if you can make it, that's great, Commissioner. If not,
Yeah. Take care, Peter. We'll lose you. Have fun.
Okay, guys.
I'll move, Mr. Chairman, if we go into executive session pursuant to the purposes 3, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. There's my motion.
Chair declare.
the chair has so declared.
All right.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Motion to go into executive session. Commissioner Stady,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
and Commissioner Shea votes yes. We are in executive session with our
Did you eat the pasta at all?
No,
Oh, Joe, it was delicious.
they're going through troubled times, the poor Navy Club, and it's 100 years old. Well, they're
Okay.
struggling.
I'll go. I'll have something.
No, they do a nice
Phenomenal. I'm telling you, I don't know what it was. I gotta get it. It was
No.
delicious.
We'll get the mayor to take a sip.
What's
Because
this?
there's a back room. We'll get the mayor to take a sip.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say I liked it. It was nice.
Good.
I got to meet
I got up the
one-
Elks and I heard
And
about
then
it.
you went there to go to the Elks. How's it make out there? Good. It's a big night there.
It was
Yeah, that's all.
a little grudge
Half the people
match.
in the room.
I count all the votes at the Elks all the time.
Yeah.
It was a little sad one because
Oh, really?
there was a grudge match on a top job at Gulf
That's
Rule.
why.
And it trickled down to the treasurer's office, and a woman who'd been treasurer for the last 12 years lost by 6 votes
Wow.
because people came out to vote at the top and
Yeah.
they didn't know the candidates for treasurer, and it was kind of sad.
Yeah.
She was collateral damage.
Ooh, I know what you're saying.
And
It was
the
hot-
person who
it
beat
was
her
hot topic.
is good too. No, he's good. He's a
Yeah.
professor at Quincy College, and
So we're live.
okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Sorry. Yep.
We're back on the record for our regularly scheduled
Shit,
March
that's-
1st, 2023 meeting.
All right. Book.
We're in number 6. Appointments.
Oh.
132, fiscal year 24 budget presentation, Commissioner's Office and miscellaneous RSVP and IT.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn this over to Director Cronin, and we have IT here. And he's going to, Sam is here to do his, and then Commissioner Cronin does the other 3. I mean, Director Cronin does the other 3. So let's get started.
Right.
However you want to handle it, John.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Attention to our new and improved budget book
Yes, sir.
It's
From the commit,
What
Uh,
tab are we
it's
on?
from
should be noted
Assistant
that,
Director Buckley. Everything is ready to go in the
Beautiful.
book,
I'll give you the.
in draft form.
Okay.
I just want to recognize that Commissioner Collins has left the meeting. Mr. Loss is sick and strong.
Okay.
Well, we're back. We're gonna go to miscellaneous, which on my copy is on page 9.
Page 9.
Yeah, it should say at the top miscellaneous and contingent expenses.
Commissioners, page 9, not tab 9.
Not
All the
tab.
way in the front.
Okay.
Sorry. I'll get you.
I used to go crazy because we never numbered the pages, but we're getting into the 21st century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you say tab 9?
No, I said page 9, but
Oh,
they'll put them in a tab.
Yeah, well, 9, page 9, it's the one in 3 tabs. so yeah. So let's see if there's a page 9 first one.
I don't know.
I think it's
Is this the Walpolean system or the Dewey Decimal System? What are we doing here?
And then it starts over again. So I'm going to
There we
excuse
go.
myself from this
All right, thank you.
explanation.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Beautiful day, huh? It's like spring.
Yeah.
Feels like golf season coming up quick. All the hype about that snow.
I know. Isn't that brutal?
What a winter, right? Huh?
All right, we're ready to
All
go.
right.
All right, our attention to Director Cronin, and we're gonna, first the budget we're gonna discuss is miscellaneous and contingent expenses.
Thank you, Chairman Shea. In review of the budget submission for FY '24, there are a few items I'd like to call your attention to. The first is the first line, one of our largest single line items, group insurance. In FY '23, the county funded $3,937,304.33. We have been informed by the Mayflower Health Group we should be planning for a 4.5% increase in coverage for FY '24. That equates to $4,114,483.02. So you can see that's approximately just under a $200,000 increase. In conversations with Plymouth County Treasurer Tom O'Brien, who I think the commissioners know, also wears a hat at the Mayflower Health Group. One of the things he preaches and stresses, which I think is quite wise, is the nature of healthcare expenses can be volatile year to year. And as they manage the group plan, they hold a reserve account to allow for smoothing or reliable rate increases each year. He pointed out, and I think I mentioned this last year, that several years ago, Mayflower went many years without an increase, and ratepayers and certainly the customers enjoyed that, but suddenly they were faced with a relatively large spike that I believe he said was 15% in 1 year. Those kind of changes are chaotic and wreak havoc on the downstream budgets like ours. So what Mayflower tries to do is to maintain a reserve to plug any holes on increases for healthcare costs. And in this case, the 4.5% increase, which is a little bigger than last year, is still relatively under control to the level of group insurance costs across the Commonwealth. So we'll be carrying that until and if we hear any changes from the Mayflower Healthcare Group going forward.
Did I hear you right? That Treasurer O'Brien, you said, is on the Mayflower Group?
He has a connection to the Mayflower Health Group. I believe he sits on their board.
Oh,
I'm not sure if he's got a leadership position or not, but he's our point of contact. Yeah, last year, when we had a presentation via Zoom, the Mayflower Health Group, there's a number of different contacts, and I'm sure he works directly with them. Treasurer O'Brien ran the meeting, so he has a
Okay.
leadership position.
Are you a member of the board of the Mayflower Health?
I'm not.
Your predecessor, two predecessors was Frank. Frank Haggerty was, we had a seat on the board when I first got.
Michelle attends the meetings, but I don't believe she has a.
I don't think she, okay, let me ask you. And this is pie in the sky, but you know, you don't think 4.5% is way out of whack, or?
It's higher than it was last year by 1%. It is definitely a number that, you know, with respect to its growth, impacts our overall budget.
Yes.
I wish it were lower, but we cannot really control these costs. What we can do is push back on Mayflower and ask them to use more reserve, for example, smooth this number down. But to date, this is the number we've been asked to hold. I believe they had an upcoming vote. So I haven't gotten a final number, but that could possibly
I
happen.
mean, we're talking about a number that's more than 10% of it.
It's substantial. It's a major driver. It is a driver in every public budget.
I know it is, and I'm not,
And these costs
and
are,
I know people jump around and,
Mhm.
Okay, my only question would be should we go shopping every few years on this? I mean, does it make any sense to?
well, that's a complicated question, Chairman. While the market does have other options for group insurance, the county is a member of the Public Employees Committee, which is a PEC. And that requires commissioners and various unions that you work with to get at the table every 3 years and sign an agreement.
Okay.
So any change to the group insurance coverage would have to be approved by the PEC. And the cycle of meetings I had last year strongly indicate they are fully invested in the Blue Cross Blue Shield model that is offered to us through the Mayflower Health Group. It would be very difficult, I think, to negotiate out.
Okay, so you're keeping an eye.
but I concur with Chairman Shea that, you know, it's significant, and you're right, good reasons as to why we have to bite the bullet and go forward. But we want to make sure we keep an eye on it, and maybe Still doesn't hurt us to shop around, look at other options in a year or so, just to look at it. I mean, doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but there gotta be other people that are, I mean, we went to the MMA and there were booths everywhere
Yeah.
with vendors, right? I mean, come on, they're out there looking to get your business. So it's good that we have a relationship, but we can give our employees the same benefit, but at a different price. Memorialize that might help. Just a
So, yeah, again, just to reiterate, you're in an agreement right now from the PAC. The PAC memorializes the coverage that we're supposed to be carrying. If we decided to look around, we may be tempting our relationship under that contract. And I'd like to do that only through Michelle McNulty's approval. But I hear what you're saying.
Let me ask the last question. Are we 80-20 or are we 75-25?
I believe that number just changed. I believe we're 70-30. I can double check that, Michelle.
So the county pays 70, the employee pays 30.
I believe that is correct.
Okay, that's pretty standard, but.
It is 70-30.
It's still, I mean.
Michelle also
for
just
all-
informed me
both
she
parties.
sits on the board, the Mayflower board, in the capacity that Frank Hagney previously did, so she is our.
Oh, she is, okay.
All right. Okay.
All right, well,
Moving on.
we're relying on you and Michelle to watch it.
The next item, the commissioners should be somewhat familiar with, and we want to call your attention to the county contributory retirement 5411. This is the matter involving the retirement costs associated with
192.
Norfolk County Retirement Board. So the commissioners received a visit this past fall from members of the Norfolk County Retirement Board to discuss a couple of things, not just the fact that costs were going up, but also the Norfolk County Retirement Board's vote to fund a liability that had developed as a result of a calculation. Commissioners may recall that prior to this year, the Norfolk County Retirement Board used something called a pay-based appropriation approach. And under that model, smaller communities in Norfolk County were paying a larger share of the overall pool of retirement benefits, while the larger groups were paying less. The Norfolk County Retirement Board wanted to, and ultimately did vote to approach this calculation through an actuarial calculation. So our contribution changed. It went up dramatically. One of the things that the Norfolk County Retirement Board was trying to achieve in this model was also to attack a liability closure over the next several years. The commissioners met with the retirement board representatives, if I recall it correctly. Initial vote was that they were trying to achieve that liability phase out over 3 years. And this board pushed back and asked for more time to flatten out that cost. It is my understanding that the retirement board revoted and elected to phase in that liability over a 4-year period. Consequently, the retirement board has informed us of our charge for next year. As the commissioners may understand, that is a large expense that's due in one of two fashions. One is an upfront payment, or the other is a biannual payment. The upfront payment in this case would have been $3,154,171. After extensive conversations with our assistant treasurer, it is not feasible for us to make that payment on July 1st. We lack cash reserves that early in the fiscal year to make the payment. We would have to float a bond anticipatory note to do that, and that comes with costs. So it is, I'm currently carrying the number you see in front of you, $3,213,023 is our upcharge over a 4-year period, actuarial standard to fund this semi-annual payment. And I believe advisory board member Paul Connors mentioned on the call that after the 4-year period, this contribution will go down. It will reflect sort of a catch up to the liability. So we should see relief around fiscal year 29, if I recall correctly. Do you remember that, Commissioner?
Yep. Yeah, we got
I do remember that.
Yep.
So that plays. So this number represents our contribution to that, as well as the corrections MOE number. Both.
So we're gonna pay it twice?
Well, no,
No, we're gonna pay half.
yes, that's correct.
It's
Paid
not,
in
we're not
July.
gonna, you're not gonna have Commissioner Shea call up July 10th and said, why didn't we pay the retirement contribution?
Commissioner Shea is welcome to make the call. He may not like the answer.
Okay,
It's because we can't.
all
afford
right,
it.
all right, that's all right. If we can't avoid it, I mean, I heard, we heard,
We're not fluid enough.
I mean, every one. Oh, I do attend the mass retirees meeting, and I do attend as many other meetings that relative to the pension that are possible, and that everyone's in the same boat. To meet your unfunded liability, I mean, the state of Quincy just bonded all their unfunded liability. Well, not just a year ago, before the race went up. And, depending on who you're talking to, it's a brilliant idea, and others say it's a risky idea. I hope it's a brilliant idea on the mayor's part, because to reach the unfunded liability is tough. And if you look at the list, I may say that we do have some member communities that have already reached their unfunded liability, and good luck to them, but it's Wellesley and a few towns like that, Dover. It's a tough number for everyone, so we're right in the middle of it.
One of the items on this, you may recall, I have not begun earnestly working on balancing this budget yet. I'll wait till after the public hearings are completed. But one of the items that I've eyed, because I view this as sort of a non-recurring perpetual expense, is I may go into that forward funded FY 24 capital account that we put in and pull some of that cash out for FY 24 and see if we have enough money to move it into 25 and so forth. Use onboard revenues rather than cannibalizing our existing operating costs.
Quick question, if I could. So we're paying two payments. So it's 3.2 million divided by two, right? Is that what they get then? They get like 1.6 and 1.6. Perpetual payment. Because you're budgeting 3.2. Am I right?
That's correct.
Right, okay.
1.606.
No, roughly.
Yeah, the July payment, if we were to make a commission, would be 3.154. So you can see the deltas, the
Oh,
cost of interest, basically.
yeah.
But I thought you said we couldn't do it all. in one.
We can't. I'm
You have an
just
opinion,
showing
the
you
treasurer, that we can't do.
Had
that.
we made it all at once, it would be 3.154.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, maybe next year we can.
Yeah,
We might be in better shape.
well, it's
Oh, I know where you're going with that.
it's there. It
Always
isn't
thinking
going anywhere.
Always thinking ahead.
Very well put.
Okay. Thank
Uh,
you.
The
Thank you.
next line I'd like to call the commissioner's attention to is 5405. That'd be your workers' compensation insurance. This is, as the commissioners will note, in FY 23, the amount approved was $229,461. That appropriation is projected to go down. Our obligations are dropping by about $60,000 down to $185,000.
I approve that line.
It is trending in the right
Discussion.
direction. It is.
Okay.
Relative to the remaining pieces of miscellaneous and contingent expenses, there's only one other item in this space that I'd like to bring up, and that's on the next page, account 5001 under regional programs and departments. Okay, so actually, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. One of the items on the agenda is to look at the RSVP program costs for FY 24. It's relatively straightforward. Account 5001.02 is RSVP. We are projecting to fund that at $30,000, which is the amount the county funds every year for that program. As you
So
know,
it's been level funded,
it's level funded.
and everything else is grants.
That's correct.
All right.
That's correct.
That's
But further
what those-
down in that batch, and this is the last item for miscellaneous, you'll see a line for weights, measures, expenses. We're carrying a number of $73,595. The weights and measures program, which I know you've heard something about from Mr. Buckley during his presentation of the advisory board in January, does include some expenses that are non-salary. These expenses in FY 24 are mainly a contract cost to bring on somebody with experience who will not be an FTE, but a contractor to stand up the program, perhaps train any new employee that may come in with little or no experience, and enable the county to hit the ground running on July 1st. That contract expense is found under that item, along with other miscellaneous supplies and things of that nature. Questions on miscellaneous expenses budget?
No. Motion to
So that, yeah,
place
that,
it
so
on.
that weight and
Go ahead,
measure
I'm sorry.
program, though, Mr. Chairman. So it's showing an increase in our expenses. But
Ah.
there's no offset in terms of anticipate revenue, is there?
Might have an answer for that.
Oh,
Glad
okay.
you asked that question.
You,
I'll get you
okay.
this.
Oh, sorry.
I should share for your benefit.
Okay.
One of the items that we've modeled, and I believe also was part of Mr. Buckley's presentation, shows the funding or the revenue coming in to pay for this program against the projected expenses. We are currently carrying a position in engineering, which Mr. Higgins will speak to you about in just a minute. His position has been funded in engineering for the last year or so. We've had no luck recruiting any candidates for that position. So one of the proposals would be to pull the funding from engineering over into weights and measures. It becomes a net neutral transfer of cash. In addition, we are currently looking at 4 communities coming into the program as they've expressed written interest through their letter of interest. That would be Needham, Franklin, Rentham, and Kent. Those 4 communities currently pay a rate to the state to run their programs. We are going to be receiving that revenue on behalf of the communities going forward. And in addition, we're looking at a participatory fee to communities. This is essentially the supplies and capital costs. So that revenue totals $136,159. There's the money coming in, Commissioner.
Got it.
If you want to view the other side of it, the weights and measures expenses includes 1 FTE, 75,000, the service contract, which I just discussed, at 50, and administrative costs of $10,000. Right? Those would be that's basically your weights and measures budget for FY24.
All right. Thank you. You answered my question.
Moving on from miscellaneous, I think we'll go to commissioners next. Is that okay, Commissioner Shafter?
We can go to commissioners next, but I'd like a motion to take under advisement the miscellaneous budget as presented.
Yes, I'm moved.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on.
All right, next item will be the commissioners budget.
Is it Carl here?
Yeah, Carl is here.
Do we want to jump around since, do we have to do commissioners now?
We can do whatever your
Why
pleasure.
don't we
If
do,
you'd like to
why don't we
take-
do Walson Recreation
Yeah,
now?
okay,
It's
so
not
I
a
don't
lot.
same thing.
Everyone else
Okay, so-
lives here. Carl, we're gonna jump to your budget.
Okay.
Get ready.
Walton, I got it right here, Walton Recreational.
That's
Please.
because I'm turning the pages and I got to it. I got to it.
I'm thinking the same thing, though. We got people here, we
Okay.
can help them out,
This is Carl Minor,
get back to your golf course.
our director of all things at Walson Recreation Facility. Before Carl starts, I want to mention something. Recently, Carl, Norfolk County was featured in a national magazine called Business View. I will send you one. And in the interview of myself, Commissioner Stady and Commissioner Collins, as well as Director Cronin and a couple of other folks, somehow we all have a somehow some both get us in trouble, but this is a positive case. We started talking a lot about the golf course, and it came out this month, and they featured the golf course in it, so that's yours to keep. But believe me, it was all positive, so that's good stuff. Okay. We're going to talk about the golf course. I'm looking at page number 1. Is there anything on page number 1 we need to talk about? Green
Well,
fees?
I don't have the.
We're working on
green
it.
fees. Okay.
Um,
Yes, well, given the current fee structure, and the weather, hopefully the weather's good.
Don't we have, we're going to be entertaining a fee increase?
We will not this year,
We will not.
just for the golf carts.
Just for the cots. Okay, I was just trying to figure it in. Okay.
Given that, we expect the revenue to be about the same as last year, $1,420,419.15.
so the same?
Yep.
Is it, you're projecting the same?
Yes.
Okay,
1,000,004. Okay.
so 1,420,000,
Yes.
and your total on expenses is 1,416,000. So pretty much break even, hopefully. Is what you're saying?
No, I think that's estimated revenue.
No, I have, maybe I got the
I'm
wrong.
sorry, you got the-
I have services, contracts, supplies,
Yeah.
equipment, land and non-structural. Total amount, 1,416,000 for expenses.
I don't have that.
I see that.
Am I right reading that?
It's the figure on the bottom of all the 24 listed. I have
Just
it.
me. Want to see a copy here?
I mean, I've got it's right there. Here's the revenue, here's the expense.
That's the summary page. Carl doesn't have that. He can
No,
bring it
no.
up. But he's correct. Commissioner stated it's correct.
Yeah, you can look at mine. That's, you know, I'm not trying to get you. You're fine. You're breaking
Okay,
even.
yeah.
No, I'm not trying to grill you. I'm just saying it looks like you're gonna be okay. But you're going with the same revenue as last year.
Yes, we have the same fee structure.
Okay.
And hopefully
Okay.
the weather
Yeah.
cooperates.
Although I did see a forecast. It's supposed to be a warm but wet summer.
Hmm.
The golfers still golf in the rain, don't they? They go out in the rain.
They do,
They do if you let them, right?
right,
If it gets too rainy, you have to knock it off, right?
right. Or we won't let our
Depending
cars.
on, yeah.
I didn't say lightning like Caddyshack. We're talking rain.
That's what he was referring to in the budget.
Okay.
You okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Carl, you may want to refer to the temporary salaries, which I think reflect the change in.
Yes, I have that.
can we stay with revenue for a minute? Okay,
Yes.
just for a minute. Am I allowed?
Sure, go ahead.
I don't
Hey,
want-
you're allowed to talk about anything
Yeah.
you want.
So I remember last year.
Again, we're not going to vote today.
It might have been last year or my first year. There was a lot of discussion about, we have season passes.
Mhm.
And then you don't do too many because you want to keep it open to the public and the fine line, things like that. So is there any thought about changing that or keeping that the same? And can you give me an idea or breakdown? How many, like, what do you call it? Season pass?
Season pass.
Yeah, how many do you have roughly? Do you know? Top of your head?
160. And we lost a few.
Yeah.
And I think we let in 31.
Okay,
Through the lottery.
so you went up then. Okay.
Mhm.
So is that, you're keeping that the trend?
Yes.
So the issue is there, if you, the more members you have,
Right,
less time for the public,
right.
or the less tea time. So there's always a fine balance question, balance there, right?
Yes.
Okay, the first year or two, I did not understand that, and I was being tugged by other groups. I learned the hard way, but that's okay. I mean, I'm aware of how it works. Now, we went up from 160 to one.
I'm not sure of the actual number now.
Okay.
But we did lose some people and letting some new people.
Okay, are you full now?
Yes.
So if someone calls me when I go to the Elks and says, can I become a member? And I used to get more calls as they get refused in other places. And again, it took me a while to learn all that, but I did. The answers were full.
But they put their name in for a lottery,
Yes.
like Patriots season tickets or something like that.
Okay.
Exactly.
But in general, and I mean,
Yeah.
we tout ourselves as being, open to everyone, et cetera, and we still are, so to speak.
Right. Okay.
Okay. The Code 5110, temporary salaries, a 5.3 increase for minimum wage, an increase of $12,985. Code 001. I'm sorry, 5221 electricity. A 20% increase and increase of $18,537. Right below that, code 5222 gas fuel, a 20% increase of $1,380. Under that, fuel oil, a 20% increase, an increase of $1,320.
All these benchmarked increases were projected across the board, Commissioner.
Right, electricity, oil, up everywhere.
And if I might add, those are costs that may need to be revisited in FY 24, depending on how the speculative markets go for some of these expenses.
Cal, forgive me, please, forgive me, because I'm trying to find the page. So the first thing you hit us with was the code, was it 100 code salaries?
Yeah, the first
So-
one was the temporary, yes.
Yeah, so those just reflect the 3.5%?
Yes.
Is it 3.5 or 2.5?
3.5.
Okay,
That's what the increase in minimum wage was.
okay. Interesting. Okay.
And then the last ones were on page 16. And 20. Right.
Which one's that?
That was the electricity, gas, fuel.
Right, I got all that, yeah,
Fuel oil.
20%
Okay.
increase.
All right.
We're all getting hit with that.
Yep. The next one is 5303, gas and diesel fuel. Yeah,
That was 20%.
yes, that also went up 20%. That's on page 17. Code 5303, a 20% increase, an increase of $3,600. Code 5381, fertilizer and seed. That would be 5381 on page 18. A 10% increase, an increase of $4,000. And fertilizer is also made with fuel. So that's one of the reasons for the increase. Code 5463, rental of equipment.
These are parts, right?
Yeah, those are, that would be the leasing of a Groundsmaster 400 Roughmore and a Multi-Pro 586 sprayer. And that's a 14,868 .23 increase.
Wow. What's that percent, do you know?
I don't know the percent on that.
It's huge.
It's just, it's that,
What's the reason?
to replace the old sprayer with a new one and replace the old, bring the old Roughmore with the new one.
We're renting, it. We're not buying it.
Right, we lease it with the
Yeah.
dollar buyout at the end,
Oh, okay.
5-year lease. With all our other equipment. The improvements, leave.
Ground maintenance went,
I want to point out, Carl, that you probably recognize that line 5709. That typically has been covered under capital.
Mhm.
My hope is that when the commissioners hear about the FY 24 capital budget later in this cycle, that you'll see not only that number move to the capital side, but increase dramatically from what you've seen before. All right. So it won't be here, it won't live here. To capital.
Okay.
Hopefully see some substantial increase.
Also under the land improvements, Cedar, 5709, cedar fence, repair of cedar fence, $20,000. That's the fence that you see coming into the golf course on the right. Initially, I think I put it in the 2022 budget. It was taken out and put into capital. And because of COVID and the supply chain, it's never completed.
I'm going to carry that capital too.
Okay. Couple things, land improvements. Generally been putting $80,000 a year for that. That would be under capital. That's golf course renovation. And also under capital, a fuel pump update, which is $50,000. I got a quote for $47,000 to update the fuel pump. It was put in 1995 and hasn't been worked on since.
So for the commissioners, are you all set?
Yes.
May I, through you,
Go ahead.
Shay just add a little bit of information to Carl's description of capital. So I'm carrying three items on the capital side, the 20,000 for the cedar fence, the 50,000 for the fuel pump upgrade, and currently 125,000 for course upgrades. That's considerably increased from prior capital items. In addition, on the ARPA side, because I'm going to show the commissioners when we look at the capital budget, not just what you're investing county funds for capital, but also what we intend to spend it from ARPA for county expenses in FY '24. Several years ago, it was 2 years ago, we appropriated funds for a course restroom. And we've been doing a lot of work, and I'm going to give Patrick some credit too. He's been working with Carl and Nancy on ways to pull that project together. And as the picture of the full cost comes into focus, the 75,000 that was previously approved appears to be inadequate. So I'm going to try to get the new restroom balance needed, approximately $200,000 paid for through ARPA. So it's an item that I have not yet vetted with Clifton Larson, but I intend to shortly. They've already had a preliminary discussion with them. There's some justification for it, but that would be the plan, Carl. Okay.
I have a question on supplies and materials. Is it 2 years since we took over the pro shop? Or one? Are we in our second or first year?
At least, I think we're in our third.
In how, third?
Yeah, no,
Okay. In general, how do you describe it? It looks like it's a wash. I'm reading this right. You're gonna ask for the same amount as
yes,
as we approved in
Yes,
23.
yeah.
So it comes in, we control it, and then we take, we take what we get and apply it back. So there's no pro involved in it. It's a part of the business, right?
No,
It's hard
no.
to get a what? No?
no, the person not involved in.
That's correct. So has it been, do you think it's better? Do you think it's,
I think it's better.
okay. We've always, the COTS has not changed the manner in which we do COTS.
No.
Ever.
We're still.
Periodically. Okay.
still-
But, okay, I don't know that there was a question before. I just wondered how, since that was a major change, it was going. And then there's one other question here, but I think I should have asked it last year, but since I didn't. Bear with me for 1 second. Something went up very much last year and then it's leveled off, but it went like from 6,000 to 42,000, and I had circled it. And, agriculture. No.
Hardware and plumbing supplies.
No, wasn't that what I'm into? It was back 2 pages. Okay. I don't know. Do we go outside for our gas, or do you get it delivered there?
We get it delivered.
Well, we're subject to the price, right?
It's
No, we bid it. It's
Yeah,
all
we bid
bid.
it,
It's
yes.
all in the county bid. Okay, so you pay what? Sorry, wait, bear with me. No, that's over my. Oh, here it is. Professional and technical. We were 45 or 45, $6,000 in 21 and 22. Then last year we went up to 37. Now it's 37 again. How do we go from 6 to 37 last year? What's under that? What's under that line?
what's under that line? Well, that would be paying the golf course architect.
Okay.
That's something that's, but we don't pay them that much, and other services like that.
5239. Is it just, did all that increased activity last year you had? When you rebuild a hole or you try
Yes,
to
yes,
keep this continuing maintenance going, and we use these companies.
Yep.
I think it's a company from Hingham that won the bid last. Is that what it is?
No, that comes from the land improvements.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just curious how it went up, but I should have asked it last year. Now that it's up there, it isn't going up again, so. Just curious.
So in summary, Carl, you'd say your budget is going up about roughly $65,000 because of like eating costs,
Yeah.
fuel-related costs, things like
Yes,
that,
yeah.
more or less. A quick question, either to you or John. Why couldn't you put that significant item, the cap, retail of rental equipment, 14 grand, the capital? Because we're leasing, doesn't qualify. Okay.
Not a one-time expense.
Even though we have an option to buy? Is
Well,
this a
when the
lease or
purchase
option to
comes
buy?
through, if you're looking to purchase them, the cost of purchase gets capital. And that's how it goes. But as a recurring expense, you put that on the capital.
That's what I was trying to say to you, that I didn't get quite understand your answer. You said it went up because we're looking to buy it. Maybe I
No,
misheard.
lease,
Lease
yes,
it,
we're
okay.
leasing.
Was it a new model, so it
Yes,
costs more?
yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay. I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman. At the moment.
I'm looking at a Manning chart here.
That's from the Abraham's group.
That's from the Abraham Group. Okay. It doesn't list,
Should be right behind that.
it doesn't list the assistant pro, but we just voted it last week. so-
Again, that's the Abraham's group that was provided last year.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Commissioner
And-
Stady had asked for that to be included. in the
All right,
budget.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
And may I say something? The assistant professional will be getting paid out of the temporary salary budget.
Right, I noticed that.
Seasonal point, yes.
Okay. All right,
Do you need a motion or an approval of the commissioners to raise the card fees?
Yes.
You're sending a letter in
that-
here.
Yes.
Would you like a motion on that today?
I,
Or take
You
it?
can.
yeah, we should, because he's gonna be open before we vote the budget,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's a modest increase, so.
yes,
I'd move on the recommendation of our director of the Walsh Recreational Facility that we raise the cart fees for the coming season from $20 to $22 for 18 holes. And from $10 to $11, get out your ones for change or whatever, for 9 holes. The last increase was $218, and all this is reflect Costco. So I'll make that motion. Mr. Chairman, Steve.
Motion made and seconded in discussion. This is based on a recommendation, as you said, from Director Minor, and it's outlined in a letter to us on February 27th, included in the budget. On raising the fees, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, raise the fees for the cards.
very good. Thank
I
you.
mean, if you're gonna open in a week or two, if things are good.
If things are good, probably open walking only at first. But hopefully we can put up March 10th.
How's the playground?
Thank you.
Is it all set?
It still needs to be grassed around.
So both of us are represented from Sears last evening, so and we want to make sure we get.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little card,
In the
we're
spring.
gonna have a little
Springtime.
ribbon cutting, et cetera. I'll
Yeah.
tell you about it, on the new improvements, and particularly in the playground and everything, and the mayor wanted to do it too, so.
Great.
That's when the sun comes out, but we're gonna do it in the spring. Cost us any.
Thank you.
Motion take the
Yep.
Walson Recreation Facility budget under
Right. All right, so move, Mr. Chairman.
review. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're going on next. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
John.
We'll see you. Take care.
Now that I jumped around, who's next?
Commissioners on.
Commissioner's office. Go ahead, Director.
Instant catch up. You found the commissioner's office, Commissioner Stady?
Well, Mr. Kennedy's here too. It's not, Mr. Kennedy, Patrick Kennedy.
No,
John Wallace, did you have something you wanted to mention about? We just observed. You just observed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a meeting
he's
tonight.
getting ready for
Yes, we do.
his budget.
Okay.
He's prepping up for his.
Okay.
All right, what page are we on?
Commissioners?
Charlie?
So we're back in the front.
I got it. No, it's after the golf course.
After the golf course?
Yep, next one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, got it. With you.
The Commissioner's budget is relatively straightforward. One of the more dynamic pieces is to note that we do plan to place the new FTE for weights and measures in the Commissioner's budget for FY '24. Again, it's a program we're starting. We hope to grow as communities within Norfolk County join over the next several years. We could perhaps scale up, and then when we do, we will separate them into a separate department hopefully in FY '25, but for FY '24, we were planning to fund one new FTE in this position of $75,000. This particular budget in front of you includes two recommended reclassifications for staff, direction of Commissioner Stady, I think, excuse me, the direction of Commissioner Shea, the director and the assistant director, for reasons that I'm sure you would like to explain. But other than those two increases, the rest of the budget should note there is no salary reserve for FY '24. Salary reserve was placed in FY '23 in anticipation of the settlement of the various collective bargaining agreements, which hopefully we will be concluding our third one very shortly. Let's see, in addition to the non-salary items, just want to call your attention to some other factors. Just a quick look at one other item. The contractual services other, we are going to fund $5,000 in FY '24 for phase 2 of the budget development. The item may not be seen in your particular version, but in our team meeting last week, line item 5299, we looked to put 5,000 in. Briefly, commissioners, I think you understand from recent updates, we've used the services of Matt Abrahams to help us evolve our budget database and our use of it for not only reporting, tracking, but also ultimately budget building. This fiscal year, we are attempting to get that done. We timed out because of our access to the vendor. We expect over the next several months, working with our chief information officer, his team, as well as Mr. Abrahams, to get closer to the Tyler product and achieve what we're trying to do, which is to use IV as a one-stop budget tool. And for FY '24, we're going to need to fund that service.
What line item is that, John?
5299.
Too far.
You don't have the value there right now, Commissioner. But
Oh, all right.
we talk every week. Our fiscal team meets on Thursday mornings, and during the budget season, we review all these budgets as a team before you see them. So we've gone through these, and this is one area that I would recommend funding an additional resource for FY '24.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Under 5295, printing and binding. I see, well, $152 one year, 1,000 another, 650. We've asked for 1,000. But I'm not quite sure. I don't like to go up, but I'd like to ask for more money in printing and binding because we do a good job on our minutes and other things, but if you look to my right against along that wall, you'll see the minutes, and they are the only copies in existence. And they're in a loose leaf binder book. I'd like to increase that line and ask you to look out, and I can help you because I've been through this in my former career. And believe me, my records were in a similar shape in Quincy. They were available, but they're in loose leaf binders. If someone walks away with one of the binders, there's no minutes of 1975 or 1980, and they go right through. I'd just like to explore a minor increase in that. And if it works, we can pay some attention because I'd like to go up 3,000 and then seek some quotes from some area people that do this for a living. I'm sure the registry has someone that does it. I know some people that do it for most of all your surrounding town clerks. In other words, they take the minutes and they bind them at the end of the year. They take the council orders and bind them. They take everything and they put them in a better shape than that. And they also send it back to you. I know this is really expanding it a little too much, but they send you back a digitized version of it too, which goes into a safe. So if someone took your original,
That's great.
but I think
You're
it's
gonna
something
get
that we're a little lax in, but it's not a budget buster. But I mean, the figure could be 75, and I'll say that's too much. But
Yeah.
I'd like to go up 3,000 or 4,000, or go to 5,000, and let's take a look.
Well, why don't we get quotes?
Yeah.
And then maybe we could work it out with it.
Well, even if we
They could do
started,
10 years. I'm saying,
even if
do
you
something.
started and
Yeah.
moved forward, and then
That's
went
good,
back
yeah.
1 year at a time, you
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get back to 19. So we won't get back to 1793, but
Sorry, guys.
the first one,
Guys
yeah.
over there.
I'm sure Sam knows a little bit about this too, but as an old record keeper, it was late in my career and I learned from the greatest, but it was late in my career that I latched on to some extra money through Community Preservation Act. And we really, and so all the town clerks know about it, I'll tell you that. Because they're all sending their minutes out, whereas 10 and 15 years ago, they were in a loose leaf book. And that's not a criticism. I'd like to look at it, that's all.
Yeah.
That's my only comment on that budget. Other than the noted salary increases are debatable, but they are, as Commissioner Collins echoed earlier, a result of the director supervising people that have, in order to get good people, and we're doing it, we're committed to it, we had to go up. And I think, the other commissioners think the added regionalization piece, which was starting out with weights and measures, is really going to bring a lot of work to get it up and going. And so far, it's going great. And that's falling through you from the existing order. However, we're willing to discuss all this, but we're going to take our budget under consideration too, just like everyone else's. Wait on the public hearing. I don't have anything else on that.
Covered it all, Mr. Chairman. I move we take it under advisement.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Next,
So we have two left. We have information technology and engineering. For the chairman, if you wish to pick one over the other.
Patrick's first. He's the most senior.
I was
He's
gonna
senior
make-
to Sam. How's that? That's as good a reason as that.
like that.
Sam with getting up.
Adjusting, yeah.
You're on deck. There you go.
Next up.
Bring that letter,
Lattice circle.
bring that weighted back. Right.
Moving right along.
Hi,
What
Patrick.
page?
Hi, Commissioners. Hello, Director Cronin.
Commissioner, which page is that?
Engineering, 42. That's the fact.
Towards the back.
Good. In the back there.
Got it.
Again.
It's between 6 and 7.
Yeah. between
So it's
seven.
7 under the blue.
Right.
And it starts out with a Manning chart and goes right in. Okay. Isn't this nice? Let me look.
Patrick does a wonderful job. Have to give him high credit.
Okay, so I'm happy to present the budget that's proposed for Norfolk County Engineering Department for FY '24. I was directed to level fund the budget from FY '23 to '24. With two exceptions, I've done that. The two exceptions, the first would be due to contractual obligations through the bargaining agreement. There have been increases in a variety of line items. And between the rate of 2.5% increase included with some step increases. And the longevity, educational compensation, and I think the safety clothing and boot allowance. So that's the only change due to contractual. The first sheet I had in here, I requested to continue to fund there's a disappointment for FY '23 was not able to fill the open position. We didn't have any, we had 3 or 4 applicants. None of them were of the level that I would interview. So it's an interesting issue right now where there's a shortage of qualified personnel. So
Is that the survey crew chief or is that the assistant too?
it's a survey crew chief, yeah.
Okay.
So that was funded in FY '23. It's vacant. I haven't been able to find somebody that was qualified to fill it. I have a revised flow chart with the different positions and the and names and whether they're funded or not in FY '23 and 24. So line item, we went through line items 5,100 salaries is collective bargaining agreement increases. Between that and step raises is 2.5% increase, and then with step raises is it goes up to 3.5%. due to longevity, we have one employee that's reached 20-year mark and another employee that just reached 10. So we have some increase in longevity due to that. Line item 5150 is educational compensation for the memorandum of agreement and collective bargaining agreement. Employee and clothing went up $690 from last year for the collective bargaining agreement. That's 5393. And then the only other thing that I asked for, so that's all related to the collective bargaining agreement. So then the only other line item that I increased $4,000 was 5277, from 15,000 to about 19,000. So it's due to increases that I've incurred. So I think we're finding also for software subscriptions, customer care packages, firmware updates. There's been an increase across the board in all things software for us, and included through last year in FY22, FY23, and what's proposed in FY24 with the purchase of some new equipment in the capital. We've taken on new equipment that increases the amount of software and firmware, and all the instrumentation requires subscriptions to keep the software and the licenses up to date. So it's not just that the increases in the fees, it's the increases in the equipment that we're maintaining. So that's the largest increase in any line item. So it covers all the changes. The last part I had was the capital. I slimmed down the capital. So really what I wanted to focus on was to finish. We've replaced all computers in the office in the last 2 years. And we were partially through replacing the monitors. So I needed line 5 in capital for 5,004. Was another 3,000 to finish off the new monitors in the office. The second one was in capital was 5,000.06 is critical. It's one of the robotic total stations. We just bought a new one this year. We're on a replacement cycle. So the ones we had were from 2016 and 17. Usually there's about 6 or 7 years out, you want to start, make sure you have a replacement plan before things start to burn out electronically. So that would be on tap. And then line item 5,007, this is just looking at the office that I came into a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. The chairs and some of the desks and cabinets, there haven't been any replacements in over 12 or 15 years. So I think we're due for some new chairs. So that's the capital. That's the budget. So the overall. So total in the salary increase, going from FY24 is $536, $58.05. We're going up about $19,000, 450. For FY24 would be $555,507. That's with the survey crew chief position still in it. I think the survey crew chief job is B minus about $74,000, 600. That job is taken out in weights and measures. So any of the increases I'm showing here will be minimal once the position is taken out of the budget. Let's see, and then total with the personnel services increases from 19,450 with longevity, educational compensation increases. It was it goes from 19,450 up to another $2,000 up to 21,450. So that covers all the changes and increases.
Wait, so the budget, we're not funding the survey crew chief,
Right,
right?
so there'll be a
So wouldn't that 555 go lower?
I wasn't aware of that until today's meeting, so I prepared my budget a month ago.
Okay.
So, okay, so now
Okay.
whatever I had here will be minus the crew chief position
So take that
of
out.
74,656. Yep.
Okay.
So I can update that as we
Thank
move forward. Yep.
Yeah.
So we're taking the salary out, but not the title.
On his budget. The title is still there. be
Yeah,
there,
so if we
But
should,
the salary should be
Come in.
reflected as going out.
yeah, okay.
Other question I had, if I may, computer hardware, you've got it in capital purchases. Are you working through the IT department now to buy that, or is that your
I work with the IT, the last year or two, we bought, the first year I was here, we bought 4 computers, and this past year, we bought 2. I worked with Dan Cabrera and Mark McDonald to make sure that everything we're buying is perfectly suited, and I checked in with IT. And then the same thing with the monitors that I bought, I run it by both of them, make sure they're vetted out, they're gonna be compatible with the computers we're running and the AutoCAD systems.
I mean, actually seeing my new director. Are
Yes,
you running signals through him, or will you be?
yes,
Still moving forward?
yes.
Okay, that's what I
But
want
we
to say.
already had that in place before Sam came on board.
Okay,
We
okay.
run through IT. I don't move ahead with any capital purchase without IT
Okay, thank you.
taking a look at it. Yep.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. So it's just one more question, last one.
Sure.
So what's our total expenses? I was trying to get a number on it. I couldn't find it. The
Oh,
total,
it-
is over here, maybe here.
I want to say it was,
Trying to get the final number. The 144?
yeah, so hang on, down the bottom on the 3rd page. So
That's capital.
yep, so my operating budget is expected to be, 24 will be 145,000. So the permanent salary budget is one line item, but then the operating budget was 141,640 last year, and I wanted to increase it the $4,000 for the software increase
Yeah.
to 145,640.
Say it again, one,
$145,640. That's due to increase. It's a $4,000 increase due to the software.
Commissioners, which one is total or the?
well, I don't want to put capital in it. He had capital too, didn't he? I think, or am I reading the wrong page?
No,
No,
I'm
it's
reading
not
the
in the
right
budget,
page.
it's
No.
expressed in this cover.
yeah. So I have it here. It would be the total engineering budget that was proposed for FY24 is $711,000, $247.58. And that's last year's was $685,798.05.
Sorry.
Okay.
And that's an increase from last year of 25,450.
Right here. Here we go.
You got it?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just trying to find it.
Yep. And I have I can't see too well, so if you want 11 by 17, I have it right here as a supplemental.
No, this is fine. I just didn't know where it was.
I hit 48 and the eyes went,
Okay, here we go. That's what I should have been. Okay. Well, as always, a very thorough professional job.
All right.
Which we've gotten used to, so
I couldn't work to revise this given the
That's the only thing.
changes that have happened.
yeah, I'm not looking, I have no.
This is ancient history, but review for us, Patrick. Did you get your new truck and equipment yet?
So the update on that is we're in a holding pattern. It's all fully budgeted for
Right.
between the FY22 and 23.
Right.
The holdup is still at Ford. The good news is things are starting to move. So Mike Johns worked really hard with Nancy we've got like a pre-number that tells us that we're in the line waiting for a van. And then it's not until they don't expect the build to happen until July or August. And at that time, in July or August, we'll get a VIN number. And that means it's being built. And then it's on the production line. And then usually once it's on the production line, it's a 2 or 3 months from there. And from what I understand, there's even further delay due to delivery shortage with the
But
trucking.
we paid for it in the past, but
It's ready to go. There's nothing open-ended about that. That's
will the other one make it? I mean, how many miles on the other one?
it's fine. The great news is we have a good team over at the Aggie. The mechanic does a great job keeping everything running.
Good.
And if there's anything that he can't do, we take it somewhere else, but he really is on top of it. My predecessor was really strong about maintenance. So they stayed with keeping it, so it's still on.
What's the total process now? About a year?
Oh, no,
Get it?
this started
Yes.
before I came
So-
here over 2.5
That's amazing.
years ago.
Huh? That's crazy.
There was basically
Yeah.
a whole year that it,
Wow.
so
So if I want to buy a car, I gotta really look at.
it's through
It's
the,
down, it's
Well,
long
a lot of the
range.
cars dealers didn't have any cars a couple of
Yeah.
months ago.
I think it's because it's a cargo van. It's
Yeah,
the
I remember
250. I think they're in short supply. The good news is that the supply chain, from what I hear in the news, things are starting to move faster at the factory because the supply chain issues are starting to get the stockpile.
Oh, that's
parts. So I'm hoping that moves along faster than July and August.
Okay, what else do we need? Any other questions for engineering?
Okay.
Well, great job, Patrick.
Okay.
We'll see you again.
Thanks for your time.
Great job.
Yep, thank you, Director.
Have a
Should we
motion to take
move
it
it for
under
advisement?
consideration.
Did I move for advisement?
Yes,
Yeah.
everything.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Motion made second.
Batter up.
Thank you.
But I was
Hey.
told to put this under advisement.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sam, IT.
Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your time.
Now, we're gonna put Sam here, wait a minute. Hell, you know, I gotta.
Right. What's that? Be a hint.
Don't have your book, so. I
Yeah,
don't
here
know.
it is. I got it.
All
Huh?
right.
Is he number 7? Where is he?
It's right after 7 and 8 or 3 before 8, I guess. Right in front of 8.
I think I got it. Reg's IC request.
Mhm.
Right
Okay.
before
There should
agricultural.
be more than one page, but like, I don't know what you've got in your book. So hopefully you see some spreadsheet.
The book of Buckley. Me too, though.
Yeah,
Buckley Fed.
you don't have
What
that.
term should he be looking
I
at?
data processing budget.
Yeah.
That's the Yankee.
I'm 301. Maybe I'm earlier in your book.
Mm. That's the treasurer. Right.
I'm early in the book. I'm like, should be right after commissioners usually.
That's the end.
This is.
This is number
This is
8. 7.
All I have, here's what I have. I found this. No? Okay. Thank you.
Master.
Commission.
Number 3.
There we go. That's one.
Okay, thank you.
It goes in order.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh.
Okay,
Oh,
let's go.
um,
Uh-oh, I do. We're stuck on something.
Source.
Yeah. Let
me go back.
I know.
Okay, Sam.
Hey, 1 second. Hotline.
I understand.
There we go.
Okay.
We're back.
Okay, we're back and we're out here doing the IT budget.
Just for benefit of viewers, we had a system interruption there, technological.
Sam
Okay.
Evans, Director of
All right.
IT.
So presuming that you gentlemen did not have a chance to read my cover memo, I will just go over that. And then please interject at any time and whatever questions you have. So, sorry, hang on. We made some changes to the account numbers this year. So you're used to only seeing a single account number in all the things, and you, let's see if you're going to see these here. Yes, you will. So when you get into the details, you're going to see what looks like a duplication of account numbers. So you'll see 523901, 523905, 527601, 527605. What that is to make a difference between registry-related expenses and admin/county related expenses. So the 01 is registry expense, 05 is IT expense. So when we get into the nitty-gritty, I just wanted you to know that up front. I also working, and that happened with a lot of help from Nancy Rockwell and Kylie downstairs in the treasurer's office, and some input from Phil and the director as well, so that we can make that happen and track expenses better. So you'll see that again as we move along. I also added a new code this year for IT computer software, and that is because we have these codes that when we're looking, if you look at the first page there, well, it's not on the first page. As we get into it, you'll see a code called computer hardware and a code called computer software. What those are really for is repair or maintenance of computer hardware and repair and maintenance of computer software. So we put in a new code when we have to buy new computer software. So this is just all towards tracking our expenses more accurately, which will help us when we move into other purchases in upcoming years. So what I want to get into more specifically for you is you'll see increases this year as we start to track other expenses that the registry has taken in previous years and paid for from the tech fund, which we are now covering. And we'll get into that more as we get into details. So as you look at your first page there, which is this grand summary page, you'll see some increases. And again, we will take a quick look at the details as we move on, but we will explain all of these. One of the reasons that when you look at the bottom line there between FY23 approved and FY24 request, it's not a very large increase now because we had some money come across a little bit later in the year. It is because we are taking more expenses from the registry in FY24, and we're going to cover those like Brown Tech expenses. Similar thing. So if we move to the second page, which is the personnel page. What I wanted to talk about here is that I am making a request for you to consider that we make Dan Caparata the deputy CIO. He has been here for just about 10 years, I think, and he is universally recognized as very good at what he does technically, and he's a very great communicator. He knows the registry IT extremely well, and he knows a bunch of the registry operations. The purpose of making him the deputy CIO was twofold: to back me up if I'm out, and one of my concentrations over the next few months and years is to spend more time getting to know other municipalities' work and the Secretary of State's work so that we can figure out the best direction forward in the next 3 to 5 years and beyond. And that means I'm not going to be around to take care of the day-to-day operations, which Dan is fantastic at. So putting him in this position will allow him to do the work that needs to be taken care of to keep the county and the registry operations going and handling all that stuff. So the concept is that Dan becomes the deputy CIO, spells me, and handles the day-to-day operations. So that's something for you to consider. And you'll see that there in the changes for our FY24 salaries.
I could just
Yes,
make a
please.
public announcement, Mr. Chairman, for you.
Yes.
To the extent that anyone has an interest in looking at a draft or proposed job description
Right.
for this position, please let me know. I'll be happy to produce it.
In the cover letter, when you have a chance to look at that, there's a little bit more information about where the dollar figure for that position came from. So that is the primary change in group one here for personnel. We also put in some money for temporary salaries. The temp that we had here has finished his engagement, but there may be a need for some temporary help over the next year if someone is out. So there's a contingency for that. I also have put in some money for possible IBM consultant help as we look at supporting Brown Tech more adequately, or if we need to do some analysis of Brown Tech, which is based on an IBM software platform. So while Dallas and Mark and I are trying to learn more about supporting Brown Tech, we might need a consultant. So that's just in there as contingency under the temporary salaries.
So everything other than the permanent under 5110 is a temporary.
Yes, there's one longevity
Yeah,
here
that's
for
for,
Mark.
yeah.
He's been there for a long time.
Yep.
Okay. So if we flip over to the next page, which will be a little bit easier to read than that tiny font there, I apologize for that. So in group two, this is where, again, you'll start to see that those duplicate things, 5230901 and 5230905. Again, just that 01 is registry related, 05 is county/admin related. So the changes here are, again, you'll see big increases for covering registry related expenses. The first one you'll see is in 527601 and 527605. Again, this is repair and maintenance, well, it's called service in the ledger, but repair and maintenance of computer hardware, and the next one's 5277, repair and maintenance of computer software. On those O1 lines, you see very large amounts of money, and that is to cover primarily Brown Tech fees. And let me just check the call out, make sure I'm not leaving anything for you. Yeah, so that's primarily to handle registry expenses. That most of those used to come out of the tech fund, so we're going to handle those now. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to bring up for you.
Wait, you said
Yes,
most come out of tech, you mean most come out of registry?
yeah, sorry, the registry,
That's what I'm
the
saying.
registrar's tech fund.
So is there a corresponding,
They used to come out
is
of the
that,
tech fund.
did you know if there's a corresponding decrease in the registry budget because of that?
We have not done that analysis yet. We'll be examining that after the hearings.
Okay. Hopefully, it'll be, if there's something, you know,
Can't hear, I'm sorry.
well, hopefully, I mean, you're taking it out, you're covering the
Oh, yes,
registry, you know
yes,
what I'm
yes,
saying? So, okay.
And the only other thing I wanted to mention, in case you see this as you look through the budgets with finer scope, is 52309, which is the first one on this page, is a professional and technical code. So there was some stuff as I looked, and again, I'm not as familiar with stuff, I've only been here for a few months. There were some things in the professional and technical code, which, as I looked at it, I thought should go more into these 5276 codes. So the previous, if you look there, you can see on the second 52309, last year there was 136. Well, it's actually the original amount in 52309 was a lot smaller, but there was a bunch of things in this professional and technical code which I feel should go more into the 5276 and 5277. So that's another reason that those 5276 codes have jumped up so much. Okay, so there's really nothing else on these two pages unless I can answer some questions for you there. All right, so that's group 2. As we move into group 3, you'll see again here a big jump in the cost, and that is in 536301, which is registry related. As you know, the registry goes through a lot of toner because they do a lot of printing. They have to, because they have to get stuff into books, and there's a lot of people who come in to handle things, and they have a whole bunch more printers than we do over here. So that is my attempt to cover the registry toner cost. And we also, in 5363, we buy on both sides here and across the street at the registry, we buy miscellaneous computer supplies, cables and hard drives for computers and pieces for printers and stuff. So all that comes out of 5363. So that's why that's gone up a bit. Okay, great. So if we switch over to the next page, which is group 4 stuff, I added something here in our attempt to get more interaction with other municipalities, IT departments, and to keep our, excuse me, to keep our guys learning stuff. I just added a couple thousand in case they want to join any professional societies or anything like that. So that's where that 2,000 extra comes from. And then in the last group 5, I did not want to raise the amount from last year very much. So all I did was, instead of the 21 from last year, I just took 20,000 and split it across registry and county and admin. So that is the high level overview. So yeah, I didn't want you to see the new numbers and freak out how come it went up so much. That is, again, the primary thing is to cover the registry
It's the first
expenses.
year, I think we're gonna have to go through this,
Absolutely. And I'm available.
see where we are, and then see what the results of transferring some of this from out of the registry budget into this budget.
I have detailed stuff for you. So whatever questions you have, I can share it in a visible format, whereas this is invisible. And the only other thing I wanted to mention to you is that in the 3 months that I've been here, some of the invoices that have come in for renewal of services and other things like that have already come in at 10 to 15 to even sometimes higher % more than last year. So some of the prices that I put into here have been at a higher, I estimated a 10 to 15% increase over last year. So that's another one of the inflationary figures in. But I am available to show you all of my calculations, figure out what you did. We also, on the director's directive to keep it low, we looked at maybe buying some additional software for cybersecurity. We looked at a couple of different things. They're very expensive. We did an analysis and we think we've got great technology in place already to handle these things. We will continue to be more vigilant and to learn things, but we didn't want to put on $40,000 in software expense. We can revisit that as necessary, but that is not included in this year's budget.
So your net growth or budget increase reflecting whatever was spent last year is about 70,000 more, am I right?
So what was approved for last year? It's probably, looks like it's
130,000.
90, I don't know which one you're looking at.
I'm looking at total, grand total, fiscal 23, fiscal 24.
Well, it should be higher than that.
433 to 563, yeah, you're
You
right.
know, if you look at the front page,
So it's
Commissioner,
130,000.
this one,
130,000.
I'm closer to 100,000-ish. If you look at the first page in my section.
That captures personnel.
The one that says the cap article. Okay, first page. Okay, so you've taken that. So it's 1 million compared to 958. So it's about 100,000.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Because we've got the inflationary. The
No, how
renewals
did
are
it go
going-
down from, you must have,
What's the first one
That
you're
first
looking
page
at?
includes personnel, Commissioner. The one that you were referring to earlier was non-personnel.
okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah, when you,
So 100,000, I had that on the first.
when you have a chance to go through, I'm sure you're gonna have plenty of
Yeah, I
questions.
gotta read.
Just let me know.
There's a lot
Yeah,
here.
there's a lot of
There's a lot.
stuff. And
How
you're
did you,
only looking at the
no,
ends.
sorry. What was the basis for coming up with that salary for Dan?
Sure,
And
so-
then, and
yep.
here's the thing too.
Yep.
Dan's done a great job. I think we all appreciate,
You saved.
when I'm saying something as a commissioner, I'm not talking about the person, I'm looking at the
Absolutely.
position.
You're looking at.
So what was your basis for evaluating?
So we looked at private salaries for deputy CEO, and we looked at municipal salaries for IT directors of varying towns and all that stuff. So he is on let me see, it's in the cover memo in case you don't remember what
Oh.
I'm saying.
I just got.
Just don't want to restate
All right.
it incorrectly.
So that,
So he is in the, wrong page here. He is in the middle of the municipal scales and the bottom of the private scales.
okay, middle and municipal, I'm glad to hear that.
Middle municipal,
Yeah.
bottom private.
Okay, and one more thing.
Yeah.
I know there's gonna be different professional organizations. We have one, MMA.
Yep.
You must have one yourself.
Yep.
Is there, again, someone you reach out to, you get data like printed out saying, here's what the pay scales are?
So Michelle
Okay.
did that
Okay.
research.
All right, good.
So I did my research and then
And you
Michelle
factored
did her
in
research.
experience and
Mhm.
things like that. Okay. All right, good, good. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure you
Please.
covered it. Like I said, it's got this now,
You-
so.
Take a look.
Yes,
There's
sir.
going to be all kinds of questions. I can
Okay.
send you whatever you want. I
Okay.
can show you whatever you want.
Okay.
And this is the starting point, right? So especially since this is my first budget for
Yeah,
it. So
yeah,
you let me know whatever you want to look at.
Yeah.
We'll talk it through.
yeah. We normally don't vote at the first day.
I know
we're not gonna look at
100%.
it.
And then,
This is the first step,
yeah,
right?
right.
So anything you
Okay.
want to know, you let me know, and we'll get that information for you.
Director Cronin.
If I may, to the commissioners and to Sam, I'd recommend at this point, now that the budget has been presented to you, that he take this draft budget back to all the stakeholders, including the register, to
Yep.
review the proposal to see if there's any other items that need to be addressed before it becomes final.
Yes, I will.
We will also be looking at, to Commissioner Stady's point, any categories of spending that appear to be duplicative, so we can isolate where best to nest those expenses. But our goal is to create a bona fide consolidated technology department where costs related to running our IT systems are housed. So that's the goal.
Great job, Sam.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you for your
Thank you very
time.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Move to take the budget under advisement. Mr. Chairman.
Motion made, and seconded, all in favor, aye.
Thank you.
Take the IT budget. under
Have a good day.
advisement.
Thank you.
That concludes the budget for today, Director Cronin.
It does, Commissioners.
Okay,
Okay,
can
your
you send
attention,
that cover
Commissioner,
information
back
to
to
I
item
emailed
number,
Yeah, you don't have it? Yeah.
Well, 'cause this book stays here,
Yes, okay,
okay? That would give me the material to read.
sure.
I appreciate it. Is that it for the budgets, Mr. Chairman? We all set?
that concludes budget for today. We have who next week?
We were scheduled to receive the agricultural high school as well as the treasurer's office, interest, debt, and maintenance. I understand that John before the meeting the agricultural high school budget may not be ready, but we'll be
Okay.
prepared to adjust that as you learn more. I know you have a trustee
That's why
meeting
we're
this
trying-
evening, and you'll
That's
learn
why
more.
we got a calendar and that's why we're
So, subject to
working.
change, I suppose, but.
Okay, I'm gonna go to number 14.
Mr. Shea, can I ask you a question?
Sure, John Wallace.
Member of the public. At the end of the personnel matters for consideration, there was some discussion of a memo, and then that was put off for Commissioner Collins, I think. Are you going to go back to that? Is that going to be discussed today?
This is regarding the vacation leave rule, John.
What was
That
that?
item. This is the last item under personnel matters for consideration, number 9.
Vacation rule memo
Oh, yeah, number 9.
of 3/1/2023 for discussion. That is that memo from Michelle Labadini. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's
Commissioner stated
two
you wish to
items.
defer at this time. You wanted to
we
study.
deferred it, and I said I didn't want to vote for it without the full board here.
You're right, but I also said,
But I promised to get it out. I mean,
I'm fine. I just said it's 3 o'clock. I was not adverse to talking about it a little bit. If you want to talk about it, or if you want to wait for Commissioner Collins, that's fine too. So I'll defer to the chair. I had said that I wanted to move the agenda along. That's why I deferred it. But I think there were 2 people, 2 individuals. on the
right, and I
consideration.
realize, I think John's question is budget driven because he's got to adjust his budget.
Potentially, and certainly,
Yeah.
I believe this issue relates to the agricultural high school too, so
Well, that's one of the 2 people,
Right.
right?
that's my understanding.
All right.
I'd still like to wait 1 week and I'll drop Commissioner Collins a note that we're gonna be ready to vote on it. But if you want to talk about today, that's fine. Now, we just
Well,
got it.
maybe, okay, maybe,
There was all sorts of backup from
Okay.
other communities that we got last Friday on it too.
God help us.
Uh,
Okay. Want some more paper.
Oh, I know, that's fine, but
I saw something on, you're right, there was. It was backup. You're right, you're correct.
there's,
There was. And I unfortunately left that backup at home on my
I'd be
computer.
happy to give you
One of the
some.
thousands of PDFs I downloaded.
I think, and Director
No,
Cronin can,
That was,
well, I don't know if he's the proper one to talk to about it, maybe it could be Michelle, but.
my general question with this, and you're the veteran here, or at least between the 2 of us here, with all due respect. On a matter like this, I'd like to get background in terms of legal interpretation. What does the law say?
Michelle is looking at it.
Okay, thank you. I'm just,
Michelle,
I'm
get
sorry,
back to us.
I'm not ready to vote this today. So either way, I'm not going to vote it. But my first thing I thought was, is there a precedent? Have you, in your knowledge, Mr. Shea, and others maybe longer than us, has this ever happened before? And then third, can we get some input from the pension people, like Paul Connors or somebody like that? Would that be appropriate to give us input on something like that? I mean, he is our delegate to the retirement board. So I wanted to get some input from like
I
Scott.
don't know if this reaches over to pension so much as it talks about, it talks about vacation. The issue is previous public employees came to us,
Right.
one from the Commonwealth, one from the town of Framingham.
Mhm.
They've been here for a while, 12 or 13 years. In our manual, a personnel manual, which is 1976 or
87.
87, it had some verbiage in it that said they were eligible to bring with them their sick and or vacation.
Just vacation, actually.
Just vacation. Okay, we won't talk about sick. That'll trigger it. Okay. Some people came and were unaware of it. I'm not aware of anyone who came and was aware of it. However, it's come to our attention. We're rewriting the personnel book and that is remaining in there.
Now, hold up.
Previous
I couldn't
county,
hear you. That's staying in there? That language? is
that
in there?
language. As
Wow.
of now, it's staying in there.
Okay, okay.
Unless we change it. The previous county director. And I believe the previous to him, the last 2 county directors in our discussion said they had no knowledge of it, but it's there. And based on past history here of using accum days, it's taken us a lot of years to get that whole list down. That has not, that's a separate subject and we're doing pretty good on it. you know, since it's got budget impact, but we're trying to get it resolved before this budget. And Michelle's done a lot of background work, and her memo, I think it's dated Friday, or actually it's dated today. It does explain it pretty well. And both people have got backup from their own employees, that's included here. So I think we need to digest it one more week, but I promise we're not gonna go beyond.
So
this week.
let's clarify it if we could. So let's say
Go ahead.
hypothetical.
Yeah.
Hypothetical. A person who's working maintenance, say in Canton, which is part of the Norfolk retirement system, right? Or it's not Norfolk retirement.
It isn't retirement,
Yeah,
it's
right.
it's strictly vacation.
Let me get that out. Strike that. They're working in Canton. They want to transfer to our county. And
And
they
become a maintenance man here.
become a maintenance man here.
So the book says they get credit for what they did in Canton,
They got credit for what they did. And they would take the.
including pension, but we're not talking about. the
Yeah,
pension.
actually, I thought I was getting confused.
Vacation
So the
status.
vacation comes over, right? Okay, now, because they're part of the system now. Now we take somebody who's, say, I don't know, working down the Cape, all right? And they have a new job now, they're moving up here for some reason. And they want to become part of our, big joint work for Norfolk County. They get the credit same way? It comes
What do you mean
over.
for the Cape?
I mean, we'll say they're working in Barnstable or in Orleans or someplace, or it's not, they're not presently contributing. Oh, see, I'm getting mixed up. with
Yes.
that. It's not the pension.
Do you want me to read the?
No, it's not the pension. So it's strictly just vacation. You come from one entity to another. Is that what the bylaw speaks about in the personnel
Service in
bylaw?
any of the Commonwealth or any political subdivision thereof.
Wow. So
I'm
why wasn't,
surprised.
how come
I
no
don't
one took
want-
it?
I don't want to cause open Pandora's box, but I'm surprised it's only two.
That's what I think we're doing. I think we have. This is
You actually,
Pandora's box.
And there was actually three, but. the
Hey, I was
third
gonna
one
say, guys,
Was
all right,
one day.
I'll save this comment, but I'll say it again next week. It seems to me that we're doing a 180 on vacation, because I remember distinctly as a member of the commissioners, my first year, that we went all out saying, you got to use up your vacation time. We can't have all this vacation time. And we sent letters to different people who have
That's-
worked there a long time and told them, you got to work down the vacation time. And now we're saying to somebody, oh, you know what? Add to it. You can have 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. I mean, this is dangerous, I think. There's got to be a cap. Got to be someplace. I mean, someone could come over with extra weeks, you're gonna add it in and they could have 10 weeks vacation. It's, you know,
Well, even if
What are
we
we
take
doing?
it out of the new personnel goal, the one before we voted finally,
right.
we still got to address these two.
Okay, but I think if we're gonna change that, we should look at the bylaw, the personnel board, the personnel book. Because this is a glaring thing.
We have a
that's-
draft copy.
I mean, I thought we were working on this, and if we
Well,
have
we
that
are.
in there, we really gotta look at that. I'm saying, because we want to be consistent with what we said as a policy when I first got on as a commissioner. We were saying we don't want to have a lot of people with vacation that they can buy back when they retire, right?
Mhm.
I mean, so you give someone 7 or 8 weeks, you know. Oh, anyway. All right. Good. Interesting.
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm gonna read it.
Actually, may I try to clarify a little bit or ask for a
Sure.
clarification point? Commissioner Sadie, I believe what you're getting credit for is not additive vacation to what you would get in the counties. It's credit for the years that you worked at your prior employer. So when you come, for instance, had this person, and there's an example here of a person who worked for multiple years in
Right.
Framingham. When they come here, they are viewed for a vacation purpose as somebody who's worked at the county, as the same as somebody who'd worked at the county for 10 years, let's say. So from day one, instead of getting a week of vacation, you get 4 weeks of vacation. It's not additive. You'll never go above what the county is offering to its employees. You're just getting a head start on your years of service because they're saying, oh, well, you were working for another subdivision of the state for 10
No,
years.
I didn't read the
therefore-
letter that way. The letter said specifically that one person would have 5 weeks rather than 4 weeks, which is an extra week. All right, and again, I'm not talking about the person. I'm trying to be consistent
I
and
know.
looking at the job and what policy, a policy. And remember the policy, we beat to death about, we don't want to have too much vacation for anybody at all because they could then get into a problem, buyback, whatever. One person is retiring, correct? And one person is not.
I don't know the
Well,
individuals
Well,
associated
okay,
with
I
this.
I
We
think
know
one
one
person's
person
getting
in
ready to
this.
retire, but, okay, but if it's on the books, and if it's allowed, I mean, you know. Wow. Not much.
Just for the benefit of the commissioners, this would not be the first opportunity you've had a chance to review this vacation rule impact on individuals who are looking for this benefit. You previously approved one other item back in November. Same circumstances.
Really?
Yes, you did.
But was 2 days, or,
Can't recall the exact
but it
circumstances.
was minor compared to,
I can't recall the circumstances.
okay. It was the same. I do remember it.
Was it? Okay.
I'll give you that information.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep the names so it's
All right.
got nothing to do with the names.
Well, I mean, those are
I promise you a vote next
my-
week.
my
as long as
concern
we
is
have- I'm sure
legality,
we're gonna have a full
precedent.
board here.
So there is a precedent. There is.
Oh,
We did
yeah.
it, according to Director Cronin. I'd like to refresh my memory if you could. I'm sure you will. There's a precedent, and there's also, we're legally allowed to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just that I feel troubled by it. So, you know, we want to take a look at that. All right.
You got it.
Okay,
All right. Move that we table this matter to be discussed further next week. in our
right, it
meeting.
was under,
Mr. Chairman?
personnel, it
Yes.
was under number 9.
Yeah.
We're gonna table it, but I will have it on the agenda with its own number next week.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's move to contract awards. I had none. Bid openings, we had none. December trial balance for approval. It's in the packet, Commissioner.
Okay.
I'm told by our assistant treasurer that the word approval is, you're merely accepting it. No vote is intended.
All right. I move to accept the trial balance as prepared by the Treasury Department, and the balance shows $111,197,390, and I believe that it's 60 cents. Correct?
Correct.
All right. Move that.
Commissioner Cronin.
So just for the commissioner's benefit, I review these trial balances when Joe releases them, and as the year goes on, he and I have had more and more conversations about the revenue collections. I think we've been very open about our eye towards the registry deeds excise for cash. You can see that the particular revenue collections to date are meeting our expected revenue target for FY '23. We see no reason to adjust that. But in terms of its comparative collections to prior years, there are significant drop-offs from the FY '21 and FY '22 levels at the same time. I think we've had this conversation multiple times, but I want the commissioners to just know my eyes are on this on a monthly basis, as well as the assistant treasurers, because deeds excise is a major revenue source, and obviously it's impacted by conditions within the economy that I think are well known to us. But currently, those revenue projections look like they're going to meet our projected revenue target for FY '23, but likely not exceeded by 2 to 3 million like we've seen in prior years. That's the only observation I want to share, Mr. Chairman.
That's good to know, though, John, in terms of our whole budget process, because what I heard today by the various department heads, each person brought in an increase on their budget. So they're all looking for increases, and our revenues are going down, so we're gonna have some tough choices coming up.
The revenues are going down in that area. They're going up in some areas. I mean, you'll hear about that in a few weeks when we're in budget towards.
Okay, just saying. Right. So I moved it. We already voted? Did we vote?
December trial balance, had not voted. Motion
Yeah.
made and second to accept it as presented. All in
You got
favor?
All right,
Aye, it is a vote.
okay.
Number 16 is
Hold.
a hold until the registry unit meets and votes. So we'll, if they do it this, if they're scheduled to vote tomorrow, it'll be on next week. If they do, if not, we'll hold it up. We handled 17 earlier in the meeting. Number 18, report of the county director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few items. The commissioners may recall that a couple of months ago, the Norfolk County Attorney Michael Morrissey's office wished to collaborate with the Norfolk County Commissioners on an opioid grant. We had received funding through the opioid settlement account. Partnering with the District Attorney's Office, we had sent out a solicitation to the 20 Norfolk County Coalition partners, looking for a lot of interest. The deadline was yesterday, and as of the deadline, I had received 12 applications from the 20. I'll give it a few more days to see if any more come in. Then I'll reach out to the program coordinator to discuss options to disperse the funds based on the written request of funds. Following last week's meeting with the Alzheimer's Association, I reached out to the director, Jim Wessler, He and I had a Zoom call, I believe it was last Thursday or Friday. We talked about advancing a concept of using the Alzheimer's Association as a sub-guarantee of ARPA funds to help distribute the message of awareness that the Alzheimer's Association presented to the commissioners last week. He was ecstatic to hear about our interest in doing this. We discussed very large level, high level scope products, including a campaign that may reach Norfolk County residents multiple times over the next year or two. He is going to work up something and give me a scope of interest in the next 2 weeks. I'll then work with our auditors to see if we can find a path towards funding this through American Rescue Plan Act funds dedicated to the county. Pursuant to a commissioner's interest last week, I believe it was Commissioner Stady, we've reached out to Barnstable County yesterday to determine their interest in hosting us this spring. They're going to check with their respective county commissioners and get back to us. We will advise as soon as we hear.
Couldn't get Dukes, huh?
So copies of the Business View article, as Commissioner Stady said it earlier, are in your packets. The links to the electronic magazine were also emailed to the commissioners. I know Assistant Director Buckley has tweeted this out. We'll also try to host this particular item on our website as promoting Norfolk County connection to business and economic development. They did a nice job. I thought it was very professional.
Looked really good. Great job, everybody. Everybody. Really
Yes.
looked good.
So the capital plan has been drafted based on the submissions of the various county budgets. As I mentioned earlier during one of the presentations, your county FY24 capital budget will have a column alongside of it for ARPA, planned ARPA and FY24, so you can see the whole picture. It's looking quite reasonable. I'm likely to focus more on about a $500,000 capital program for FY24 based on how things are trending for overall revenue and surplus. Just a quick note, I mentioned to Commissioner Shea this morning when he came in that the public hearing process for the FY24 county budget is underway. It was published in the Patriot Ledger yesterday. We are due to have a public notice hearing on the matter March 15th, and I believe that's consistent with our overall budget schedule. And then finally, Assistant Director Buckley received notice that our
Bill?
senators, yes, our senators have sent
my
out
mind.
an interest to have federal appropriations. It's called a federal appropriations form. It's filed with them for any earmarks or potential federal funding for large-scale projects. They fall into, I believe it's 5 different categories. Give me 2 seconds. I think I have the paperwork with me. I'll briefly describe to the commissioners what we may be looking at.
Oh, I'm thinking about the other bill, the excise bill. Well, that's okay. This is better.
So in this case, this came through Senator Markey's office. The federal appropriations form allows eligible entities to apply for agricultural research, Department of Commerce, BURN, which is law enforcement discretionary funding, energy projects, the national drug policies, and education innovation. We see some areas that county government could land, including education, and we'll collaborate with the schools on that to perhaps send in a request to have federal funds / earmarks given to Norfolk County projects. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
That is my update. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, moving right
All
along.
right. Could I ask a quick question? If we
Absolutely.
could, maybe next week, could Assistant Director Buckley give us an update on the status of those bills that we filed? Whatever, the House bill for excise,
Yeah.
just to check in.
If I could ask for a deferment on that to perhaps April, because we were told that the committee assignments were still being made or finalized as late as late February.
All right.
So I'm not sure there's been a lot of bill activity. It has been filed.
Okay.
But I did speak with some of our partners in other counties that are working with us on those bills, and they
Right.
said nothing happens until after March 1st.
Okay, great.
So
Thank you.
thank you.
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Number 19, emergency items and topics. The chair did not reasonably anticipate. I have none, but before we adjourn, I want to take a moment to ask that we adjourn today's meeting in memory of John J. Carroll Jr.,
Yes.
a legend in every way.
Yep.
A man who had 50 years of government service, including 39 years as the town manager of the
Amazing.
town of Norwood. a number of years as the Commissioner of Public Works in the DPW for the whole state, as well as a veteran, also a person who served on the Town of Dedham School Committee. And last but not least, his greatest achievement is the father of 18 children. A lot of us worked with John. He had a huge party a few months ago in his retirement, probably a year now. But I wanted to dedicate today's meeting in memory of John J. Carroll, Milton, Mass., manager of the town of Norwood, for a record that I'm sure will never be broken.
Quite a legend.
And
John,
quite a
was-
resume.
he was a forward-thinking man too,
Boy,
way ahead of his time when he took over that job. And many towns leaned on his experience to, get things done and get them through some of the struggling days when fiscal restraints was the name of the game, So, yeah, quite a person. May he rest in peace.
he also ran the Department of Public Works and town elections for several years. I mean, it goes on and on.
Quite a person.
Things you don't even know. It's quite an achievement. 90, did I tell you? 95, I believe.
Yeah, it's exactly 95. You're
So
right.
very, very good.
Chief Price.
For John Carroll.
Yeah, hand it over. With that, with the motion, I'll move to adjourn, the meeting again with our moments of, silence, but in memory of John Carroll at 3:20.
Thank you very much.